Hey there, TMS Derp here with another video of aircraft that should be in War Thunder that aren't, and it is the second edition of US bombers. Rules are pretty simple. I'm going to be going over another 3 aircraft that I believe should be in War Thunder, but for whatever reason, they are not. It's been a little while since I've done this, but I'm excited to get this series started again, and let's get this underway. The first aircraft I want to talk about is quite a legendary one. It is the B-52 A/D variant of Stratofortress. Its first flight was in 1952. It is a few years after the B-47, the first swept-wing jet bomber that the U.S. made. This is sort of a bigger evolution of that. It was primarily designed to carry nuclear bombs across the Atlantic or Pacific towards the USSR, because this is the height of the Cold War, but it ended up sort of being transformed into more of a strategic bomber, especially towards the Vietnam War in the 1960s and early 1970s. Its top speed at the time is 638 miles per hour. It's slightly faster once you get into the more modern variants, but with these variants it's 638 miles per hour. That's 1,026 kilometers an hour. For armament, it has 4 50 cal machine guns in the tail turret. There is somebody back there on the tail turret. It is not remotely operated. For power plants, it's got 8 GE J57-P-29W and WA engines. It depends on which variant it is, but they all deliver 4,762 kilograms of force each. Times that by 8, that's quite a lot. That's why it has such an impressive top speed for such a big aircraft. It also needs that power to use for the max bomb load, which is 32,000 kilograms, which is quite a hefty amount. As for with War Thunder, I think for a battle rating, I think it would work around 8.7 to 9.0, because unfortunately once you get past 8.7 to 9.0, you start getting into longer range, more accurate missiles, and you're getting into supersonic aircraft mostly, especially once you hit 9.3, because almost everything has an afterburner and can go Mach 1 plus, whereas bombers, especially like the Stratofortress, it's like Mach 0.7 or something like that, and it's an enormous target without defense really from missiles, so it would just get obliterated. That's why I think in the current state of the game it would fit at 8.7 to 9.0, but that's what I think. Feel free to comment if you disagree. Now we're going to move on to the next aircraft. The next aircraft that I want to discuss is the B-66 Destroyer. This is a land-based derivative of the A-3 Sky Warrior, which was the Navy's aircraft electronic warfare submarine. Well, it wasn't a submarine hunter, but it was basically its intelligence bomber in a way, I would say. It was an attack bomber. Being this is the land-based version, it's just purely a bomber, but it was used as a low-level electronic warfare and intelligence bomber during the Vietnam War. It was used as sort of a decoy to bring out the enemy's missiles and stuff. It was supposed to make them alert and get the electronic activity, so that way people knew where they actually were, and they could hunt and take them out. For its first flight, it was in 1954, so a few years after the B-52 first got tested. Entered service in 1956, so it got to enter service after its first flight a little bit sooner compared to the Stratofortress, but they are completely different aircraft with completely different jobs, I would say. For armament, it had two 20mm M24 autocannons in the tail turret. This was remotely used, so the not the pilot, but the co-pilot could remotely use the tail turret to shoot down anything that is behind it. For power plant, it had two Allison J71-A-11 engines, making 4,626 kilograms of force each, which, considering it's a smaller bomber, I would consider it like in between a light and a medium bomber. That is quite an amount of punch. That's why its top speed is 631 miles per hour, or 1,015 kilometers an hour. So about the same speed actually as the Stratofortress, but you have to consider it has 4 times less the engines to do that. Its bomb load was a fairly respectable 6,800 kilogram max bomb load. You're thinking along the same bomb loads as like the Canberra, the IL-28, the Yak-28. It's kind of the same sort of bomber size. So that's why I think for a battle rating it would work best at 8.0 to 8.3. I think it should be below the B-52 just because of its max bomb load. A B-52 should be able to obliterate almost every single base in the game, I would say, whereas the B-66 might have some struggles with that. But it obviously is a much smaller size, so it has a much better turning circle, it's much more agile, and it's just as fast, so you should be able to at least evade enemies a little bit easier. That's all I really have for the B-66 destroyer. The third and final bomber I want to talk about is possibly going to be the most controversial. It is the B-58 Hustler. It was the first U.S. supersonic nuclear bomber. And hear the word nuclear and you immediately think, how could that even be implemented? Well, I'll get to that. But it was meant to replace the B-47 for its nuclear strike bomber role and was supposed to serve throughout the Cold War. Well, that didn't really happen because it had a subpar service life of only 10 years. But that was due to advances in missile technology. It also had quite the accident rate because of its Delta design. And then jet fighters have also caught up speed-wise, and they can also carry missiles that can catch up and take out an aircraft like this. Its first flight was in 1956 and it entered service in 1960, so it had quite a long development, especially considering it was only in service for 10 years, from 1960 to 1970. Its top speed was a frankly ridiculous Mach 2.0, which is ridiculous for a bomber, especially in the 1960s, the early 1960s at that. For armament, it actually does have a front-mounted gun. It is one 20mm T171 cannon. Its bomb load was also pretty respectable at 8,820 kilograms of max bomb load, but it was only designed to carry nukes. Kind of like what the B-52 was designed for, but it could get changed. The B-58, unfortunately, was never implemented for conventional bombs. Now, here's where it can get a little screwy. So for the battle rating, I think it could actually work in ground, because I'm sure, as you've noticed in ground, once you get past 7, maybe it's not 7.3, I think it's 6.7 or 6.3, you start getting the option to drop a nuke if you get enough gamer score in a ground battle without dying. And then you can go and drop a nuke. Well, I think past 10.0, you should have the option to use the B-58 Hustler, being that is kind of what it was designed to do. Get in very quickly, drop its nuclear payload, and get out. So I think it would work in that role. But in air realistic battles, if it was giving conventional bombs, I think you could really only do it at 9.3 to 9.7 at max, because the Yak-28 is at 9.3, and that's its direct competitor, I would say. They're about the same sort of aircraft. They have roughly the same top speed as well, and have the same sort of role, and it's 9.3, so I would think the B-58 should be around that. But that's all I have for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. If you like what you see and you haven't already, consider subscribing to my channel. I greatly appreciate it. I'm hoping to get to 500 subscribers very soon. Thank you guys for supporting me. It means a lot to me, honestly. I will be having another video covering what's wrong with bombers in War Thunder. That should be coming out here in the next few weeks. I know I haven't uploaded in a little while, so I'm trying to get back into the swing of things, so just bear with me, and thank you for your patience. But until next time, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Peace out.